Greetings and salutations, fellow viewers. It's yours truly, the absolutely bored college has mind Taco Emperor Microsoft Sam, and this time I gonna have to bring back up an old issue, and it's something that I really wanted to make a video of for a very long time but couldn't due to procrastination. If you guessed Sound Effects Wiki, you're spot on, and unfortunately this time it is much worse. Back in 2020, I originally made a video discussing my issues with the guys over at Sound Effects Wiki blocking me for some of the most bullshit reasons, when really I was doing a legitimate job at cataloging whichever sound effects are being used in any media listed in any given stock sound effects article. In my case, I'm cataloging and watching out for the large animal death scream by Sound Ideas, which I typically associate that shrill, horrific screeching roaring sound with the spider mastermind waking up to the player's presence in the classic Doom games. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that monster sound, mind you, but ever since I heard that repeatedly when watching the Zoids on eBay in the computer back in 2017, I had to be on the constant lookout for that sound effect when I watch any sort of other media besides Doom. Originally I was blocked for a month at the time I first brought up my issue with that out of nowhere block placed on me, which I already told Trend in my follow-up update video that the block in me when updating articles with new information is just too extreme, and thus they had to loosen the restrictions, so that way other users can edit articles with updated information without being wrongfully accused for apparently breaking the rules they either didn't violate, or simply just didn't pay attention to. But that was almost 6 years ago, so it was almost much less egregious than how it was then, last year, when I'm trying to come up with new sound effects for my custom enemies for my new DZ Doom project that soon fizzled out and got cancelled, I was looking at the Sounds resource website for any video game sound effects that I could find, and the video game that piqued my interest was an obscure PlayStation 1 shooter game called Apocalypse, which was published by Activision, who also published Vigilante 8 for the PlayStation also, as well as the Nintendo 64. As I looked through Apocalypse's extracted sound files, I noticed that a portion of the large animal death scream sound effect had been discovered, so I instinctively had to catalog it to its appropriate article in Sound Effects Wiki. What I did not expect, however, is something that got me all flabbergasted, and not in a way that I want to see. Apparently, that article was now edit protected, meaning that I could not add in new information based on my findings, so the next best thing I had to do is add Apocalypse as the new entry for the second and fourth large animal growls in their respective articles. Unfortunately, as I eventually found out, those will be the last edits that I'll ever be able to make on that wiki, before I was blocked yet again behind my back, this time much more severe and thus far worse than I previously dealt with. Fast forward to October last year, when I was looking at Halloween animatronics, Desmodus, one of the Halloween animatronics from the 2023 lineup, emits the large animal death scream sound effect when it was activated, but unfortunately that article was still edit protected, so I tried to edit other articles, which is where another bombshell struck me again. Seriously? First the large animal death scream article got edit protected for dubious reasons, and now I got edit restricted as well? That's just a bunch of hot diggity bull diddly shit. Apparently, my pleas for the admins in Sound Effects Wiki to be more lenient in their users eventually fell onto deaf ears. Now, since I'm edit restricted, I thought I was soft banned from that wiki for over a year, until I found out that, when I try to upload an image, a dark revelation has occurred to me. Somehow, I am now officially perma-banned from that entire wiki, all simply because I broke every single rule that's on that wiki, when really I was actually doing my job at cataloging sound effects that were featured in various media in the entertainment industry. Wow. Just wow. Never, in my 6 or so years in that wiki, have I felt so immensely discouraged and insulted as an aspiring sound designer. I mean, why? Just why? All what I am doing is simple and well-intentioned, and yet you had to perma-ban me like I am some disrespectful criminal. That is not how you treat your users at all. I am extremely disappointed in Sound Effects Wiki, especially that person who goes by Sthebee, who I found out that they had a large blacklist of users that apparently violated the wiki's rules and are given no second chances, myself included. Essentially, I do my sound effects cataloging, and all I get is a big fuck you from the wiki admins, who still prove to be corrupt, and continue their corrupt bullshit I wanted them to rehabilitate from. Again, I am so disappointed with Sound Effects Wiki. Big time. Excuse my yelling. Just had to blow off some steam. Other than that, I practically have nothing else to say, other than the fact that I'm officially perma-banned from Sound Effects Wiki without a second chance until December 31st, 9999, and there's really nothing I can do to undo that bullshit, except showing great contempt for such a toxic environment in what was once an interesting wiki. Again, I have felt very discouraged and insulted as an aspiring sound designer, which is a crying shame, because they have the most impressive repository of sound effects that were available on the internet, only to be gatekept by Sthebee and the corrupt admins who would block regular users without giving them a second chance. If I had admin powers myself, which I don't, I would simply reprimand Sthebee strongly for such abuse of power and overall gross misconduct of the treatment of the users updating information. But as it turns out, Sthebee manages to unblock themselves, and proceeds to block those that wronged them. So Sthebee, if by any chance you come across this video that I'm making, please be aware that this is not a personal attack. This is a call to give Sound Effects Wiki a complete overhaul involving reforms to wiki moderation practices. What you are doing, right now, is turning people off from Sound Effects Wiki, because, like I have said to Trent nearly 6 years ago, if anyone makes a small tiny mistake or simply does something as simple as adding new entries to the sound effects and the media they are used in, you would swoop down upon innocent users with extreme prejudice and proceed to perma-ban them without any second chances, like I've said a few times, and with little to no rhyme or reason. It's just blatant abuse of power, and I seriously, and I do mean seriously, want this to be all rehabilitated and reformed. And if this issue continues to persist or even worsen, then I am about this close to creating a revised version of the Sound Effects Wiki, where restrictions are more lenient but still reasonably enforced, and all users should be treated more fairly. As for Sound Effects Wiki, unless the admins get the hold of themselves and at least unblock me, which is unlikely, I am no longer contributing to that forsaken wiki due to abusive moderation, false bans of innocent people doing what they regularly do, general toxic and unacceptable behavior, and overall just unenjoyable to endure. If, by any chance, if I were to watch something from Sailor Moon, enjoying the story, characters and visuals, and at some point all of a sudden the large animal death scream sound effect shows up to indicate everyone is in immediate danger and I want to catalog it, what would you do? Oh wait, I apparently can't do that, because updating the information would automatically break all the rules, and therefore get me permanently banned regardless. I'm sorry, but that's not the way to go, and thus completely defeats the purpose of contributing to a wiki. I've said this twice already, and I'm gonna say it a third time. I am extremely disappointed in you Sound Effects Wiki. Big time extremely disappointed. Dumph.
Hey, don't take things personally, Sam. Even if you try to come up with a revised version of that wiki, it's just basically inviting yourself into getting accosted to the point that new wiki will basically die upon arrival, so I don't think it's a good idea. I'm very sorry about how you have gone through, but it's best that I should focus on other things than just getting angry over getting blocked from just one wiki.
Fair point, because I've also contributed to the Terminator wiki, with my focus being to bring in and shed light onto the new and interesting Terminator units featured in the Terminator Genesis Future War mobile game, which is now shut down and replaced with their fucking obnoxious cash cow raid Shadow Legends, and bringing those new Terminators into sharp focus. And yet, I did not suffer from such disproportionate retribution that I had in Sound Effects Wiki, because that's exactly what I'm actually doing, contributing to a wiki that either needs new information, or simply needs to have existing information updated. But, ever since I'm perma-banned from Sound Effects Wiki, I tried to add in new entries to Wikipedia's stock sound effect article, but turns out it was not viable, as a long-term solution. After I added in information that Sailor Uranus's world-shaking attack sounds exactly the same as Ed 209 shutting down in RoboCop, Wikipedia has decided to revert all my edits and reprimanded me in my talk page, saying that all of my edits are unreferenced, and thus are removed. Another big blow, because now it's made apparently clear that no matter how much I want to catalog sound effects that were featured in various forms of entertainment, the internet will do everything to punish me for doing what I do, which is a metric gigaton of bullshit. With such an unfortunate turn of events, where I'm perma-banned from Sound Effects Wiki to the point I'm displaced into continuing doing my work in regular Wikipedia, only to have my work be completely undone by that platform due to no references, does all of that discourage me from continue making my own custom sound effects I make for my video series? Not exactly, no. In fact, the last video I made so far is me showcasing custom sound effects I made for a prehistoric crocodile genus named Allodaposuchus, which so far has only appeared in the 4-episode Dinosaur Planet documentary miniseries. So essentially, even after I've been struck with such bullshit that I'll never tolerate at all, I still never gave up in what was, and still is, my hobby at this point. It's honestly very sad that, when I first discovered Sound Effects Wiki several years ago, it was a really interesting wiki concept, where I can put my knowledge about sound effects to good use, only to find out that over the years, the Sound Effects Wiki has been undergoing enshittification behind the scenes, which then culminated into first getting myself blocked twice for a month each, with the third strike being a dogshit perma-ban that basically hurt my feelings internally. But like I have said before, I never gave up on my hobby in creating custom sound effects for my videos, because not only I am an aspiring sound designer that likes to come up with new unique sounds that were never heard before, but I am also an aspiring voice actor, where I make really good character impressions, even to the point I accurately recited Haku's opening monologue in the Samurai Jack intro word for word. So until then, as what Buzz Lightyear would say, Sthebee and the admins over at Sound Effects Wiki are essentially a bunch of sad strange little men, and they all have my pity. In other words, I'm done with Sound Effects Wiki, until they get their act straightened out. Well, that's all what I have time for today. Sorry, if I ended this video with a rather somber note, but the batshit insanity that's going on at Sound Effects Wiki is something that I had to get off from my chest. It's truly a crying shame, sure, but I cannot let that sour my passion in creating new sound effects as a sound designer. Until next time, I could come up with something that's more positive than this, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheerio.